about to listen to a conversation at the precipice of reality and understanding. I am John Patrick Morgan, and this is the Gatekeepers podcast.
Hi, Ari. Welcome to Gatekeepers.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me. Stoked to be here.
You're so welcome, dude. So we've just met like 3 seconds ago, and I've been looking forward to it because I've been following your Instagram content on paragliding and really coaching and deep psychological growth, which for anybody who's watching this knows me, like that's been my passion for a long time, deep growth. And paragliding is a new passion, but I don't know if you know that it's not brand new because I actually did it in my 20s for a short period of time. We can get into that, but this intersect of like my new favorite hobby of flying and deep work, it's like, holy shit, this dude's doing both of them. I mean, even for tax purposes, that's fucking exciting for me, but like, right. So I've been I have lots of questions about your work, man. But I guess the first thing that I would say, I just do some background, like how long you've been flying and how long you've been doing deep work, like both these worlds.
Yeah. So the paragliding, I think I just wrapped my 12th season.
Okay.
But it's been pretty full on the
You've been
whole
all
time.
in. Yeah.
I've been pretty much all in. Yeah. Because I came from just an athlete background.
Mm-hmm.
At the time I learned to paraglide, I was a sponsored skier and highliner, traveling around making films,
What's a highliner?
And so it's like slacklining, but really high off the ground.
Oh, wow. Okay. So like tightrope walking, basically, like that guy Bird on a Wire, like that movie?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. Some kind of like tightrope walking. It's a bit stretchier rope and it's flat rope instead of a round cable. But yeah, it's
I know what
like
a slack line is. I just never knew about it really high up. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
So without any, no, I'm just curious. Like, so basically without any harness or anything, if you fall, you fall.
That was a very small niche inside of that sport. We call that free soloing.
Okay.
And that's something I dabbled in a bit, but have since left behind.
Yeah.
Most of the time, the type of highlining that I specialized in was long distance, and I set, 5-time American record holder, and
wow,
we've rigged world record highlines a couple of times.
Cool.
So really, really long ones.
Yeah.
So the longest being 2.2 kilometers long.
Oh, fucking hell. I was gonna ask sarcastically, what, like half a kilometer or something, and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah,
that's a long
really,
slack
really
line.
long ones.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of team and leadership and visioning and so many different logistical hurdles and challenges. And
so that's literally one line. It doesn't have like anchor points in between.
No, it's one line. It hangs on its own. We have a number of ways that we connect it in various ways so that it's a redundant system and more safe. So it is actually a main and a backup line. But yeah, it's just one piece of rope. That's
wild. I'm gonna have to YouTube this after I see this
chasm.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So I interrupted, but you were sharing your backstory. Go for it.
Yeah. So that was, I did my first backflip on skis when I was like 12 years old, and I was the middle of 3 boys, and my father was like a skier, water skier, and snow skier. So I kind of just grew up chasing that kind of thing, looking up to people who could do crazy things, and really, it was a big part of how my identity shaped and how I got my space in the world, how I took up space, and how I made a spot for myself.
Where were you growing up? Like, where were you a kid?
Central Oregon.
Okay.
Yeah, I was born and raised here in Bend, Oregon.
It's been you've been skiing Mount Hood since you were a kid, basically.
Yeah, Bachelor was my home mountain. Okay. Bachelor was my home mountain, but yeah, I skied a lot on Mount Hood as well.
Cool.
So yeah, and I think that honestly, I'm thinking hard about your question of like, when is it that I started doing this deep work? Mm-hmm. I think it was, post or very late adolescence, it was like difficult things in my family, betrayals and hurts and wounds. And I started on the path of the ethical treatment of children, just to kind of figure out like what the fuck had happened and whose responsibility it was. And it put me on the path of philosophy and moral philosophy specifically, like what is right to do. And it helped me answer a lot of my own questions. And I think as far as like the coaching side of the deep work, I think I just needed so much of it myself. Um, just to kind of figure out why was it that I needed to jump off of a cliff over and over and do increasingly dangerous things with my physical body to feel enthused and feel excited. And obviously, or maybe not that obviously, that my motivations have always been a mix of my beautiful inspiration and aspiration and capabilities and the shadow that nips at me, the needy, craving, belonging, attention-seeking parts as well. So just getting more and more like open to that being a reality inside of myself. I just find that as I plow the way on my own path, it's like people are curious and hungry in their own way for the same thing. But as far as the coaching, I kind of the way I've answered that question in the past is that I've never not been a coach.
Same here.
It started mainly with like having a deep care for people and being very opinionated and outspoken. You know, my friends would say, "Oh, I'm doing this." I'm like, "Why would you date her? Like, she obviously doesn't like you." You know, like that's how it kind of started. And so I feel like I've come a long way since there. But does my action sports pursuits and wanting to grow and support people have just been always a deep passion and things that have come naturally.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a coach too, in the sense of it being naturally, can't stop myself from trying to help people to have everything that I think would be great for them. Really, like, you know, the essence of it is people being free, having a loving experience of life, having power. Those are things I've always sought for myself. And so whenever I see somebody lacking in that, I've always tried to get them more of it, whether they wanted it or not. And so coaching gave me an outlet for it that was constructive instead of just disruptive all the time to other people. And I could leave my friends alone a little bit more when I had an outlet for it professionally.
Literally, this is the reason that I have a coaching practice is to maintain the rest of my relationships.
It's an out. So I'm tired of that by a certain hour, then I can hang out with friends. But dude, you touched on the thing that was like right at the center of like my own personal inquiry as I've been entering into paragliding. So I've been getting deeper into shadow work the last few years, and this year in particular, very deep into it. And at the same time, I've started paragliding again, and I have been paying so much more attention to my internal process and my internal experience. Not just am I afraid or not afraid, because there's risks, but like, what's my motivation, and where am I hesitating as an expression of love, and where am I hesitating expression of fear? Why am I paragliding? I went and worked with my shadow coach, and I was like, I love paragliding, but I'm not sure I'm doing it for the right reasons. Can we work on this, you know? And then I heard you speak to some of that. I mean, that's that video that I saw, I think recently, which is about how paragliding brings out shadow, and you showed the video of that guy's accident. So yeah, what are you just helping guys to discover, or not just, do you work just with guys or guys and girls, or?
I do.
You do work with just guys. Cool. So what are you helping guys to discover in shadow? Like, how do you see those two things as being in relationship? What kind of insight have you gleaned, and what do you do in that world between shadow and flying?
Interesting. Yeah. So the thing that I just picked up by what you said was that you reflected to a mentor that I'm not sure I'm doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's a bit of a problematic framing, just because what I'm trying to help men see right now is that the capacity to be able to faithfully witness yourself so that you could even hypothetically observe what reasons you're doing anything for is a skill that you have to develop before you will know why it is that you're doing the thing.
Right. Yeah.
And the video that you're referring to is, you know, a guy crashing into a mountain. He's a relative beginner, crashed into a mountain, breaks both of his legs, both his ankles, gets rescued by a helicopter, spends 3 months in the hospital, 6 months in a wheelchair. And he writes to me and he says, I'm so glad this happened. It seems weird to say it, but it changed my perspective. I understand my motivations so much clearer now. And there it is in a nutshell. It's like, I've seen it firsthand. I've seen people splat on the rocks, and I've given them CPR for an hour while the helicopter comes, only to declare them dead. And I just witnessed a fatality. And so in those moments, it's really easy to look, ooh, why am I doing this? You become very scrutinous of your own motivations. You become very uncertain. But if you go to a paragliding launch around the world, everyone is so sure that the reason that they do paragliding is because the freedom they feel, the new challenge, the beauty of nature, being outside, learning something new. Okay, it's like, yes, and
right.
So the lie in paragliding that I'm trying to help people see right now is hyper-individualism, that the only motivations I have are from within. They're only intrinsic. I'm perfectly intrinsically motivated.
And conscious of those motivations too.
And conscious of my purely intrinsic, perfect. I'm very comfortable sharing with you how perfectly intrinsically motivated I am. I have no needs from other people, connection, to be seen, to be approved of, to have status, to have power, to be respected, to have my own self-respect, all of these things. No paraglide pilot will come out and say, look, it's true, I did get into paragliding because of my family of origin, that I struggled to have the attention, care, and safety that I wanted in the home. So I took increasing risks. We see this as coaches. We see this all the time. It's just people achieve in business, right? The guy gets rich and then he says, oh shit, now I have all this money. I still feel like shit. Right? But people don't really talk about it in paragliding because our culture is so, this is recreation. It's fun. It's cool. It's inspiring. This is amazing.
But it's still there as a subtle undercurrent about, like, even in my own just beginners, it's like, can I create a video that makes it look like I did a good job taking off instead of a crappy job, like even as a P2. So there's always that subtle piece to it that's in it. And that's really, I hadn't considered that aspect. Like, what about the other side of it too? Like, the piece that I was wondering is like, what the feeling, so I completely am with you, right? Like, it's not just as one thing. And so one of my inquiry, am I doing it for the right reasons, is like, are there reasons that I'm doing it that I'm not aware of, that are not healthy, that are kind of driving me? There's going to be a multiplicity of reasons. I'm totally coherent with that. The part that I was looking into, I haven't heard you mentioned yet, is there something self-destructive in me that is putting myself at risk for a reason that is in shadow, right? Is there some kind of like aspect of self that wants to live a bit more dangerously, which I'm not necessarily opposed to when it's conscious, but when it's unconscious, it could lead to decisions that aren't the best decisions that are going to make the most effective outcomes, right? So have you seen that? Have you tapped into that with anybody?
Oh, I mean, absolutely, brother. I think that the fatality that I just mentioned to you, that I witnessed, that I was a first responder on, I think the guy was suicidal. Because when I talked to our only mutual friend, the first thing she said was, she was like, oh, Ari, I'm so sorry you were there, that you had to see that. Do you think he did it on purpose?
Wow.
I said, holy shit. Oh my God, never
too.
even considered it. And then she says, yeah, his life was basically exploded. He had lost this, he had lost his children, he had DUI, he had just basically been spiraling out and spinning his wheels and in a fucking totally horrible place. So I've also been I've participated in base jumping for a number of years, which is a sport that pushes even harder on this thing, where you get to enact your suicide over and over and over, and then recount it, recall it by pulling your parachute and saving your own life over and over and over. So
that's a mental way of thinking about it, but it's true. Yeah,
it's true. So, I mean, in paragliding in general, we never stop to think. Your instructor will never say, hey, great, you're a successful coach and a father of 2 and you have a beautiful wife. Why is it that you feel like you need to risk your life all the time recreationally?
Right.
Yeah. And I think we do ourselves a huge disservice by not bringing this up at the fore.
Right.
The thing that I would reflect is that, the quote or the idea that comes up here is that, like, the things that are in shadow aren't the things that you aren't looking at. They're the things that you can't see.
Right. And don't want to see. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, and I think this is an important distinction right here, actually, because if we say, oh, you don't want to see your shadow, then there's some kind of shame associated with this. And it's now we're like weak and we're stupid and we're fucking petty.
Yeah.
But if we just say, oh no, the shadow are the things I literally just cannot see. And I need various relationships, exercises, people, support, perspectives, flexibility, open-mindedness, all these things so that I might come into contact with those things, then we can soften so much. And we get to say, oh, it's not that I'm stupid or weak or that I'm not looking at it. It's that there are motivations for me to take risks in paragliding that I literally just cannot understand. And I'm 12 years into this, and I have basically paraglided for every single reason, from superiority complex to emotional escape, to feel myself. Basically every single reason that people could paraglide, I think I've paraglided for those reasons. And I'm at this point comfortable saying that. And so I'm just trying to help people reflect on this before life forces them to reflect on it.
Yeah.
Because I've seen some shit and I've had near misses myself. And so, like I said, most people are delusional or in denial about how much their reputation, how they're being perceived by others, or their status in society affects their decision-making.
Yeah.
And paragliding is a perfect way to see that. Everyone wants to say that they're doing it because of beauty, of nature, of challenge, of exercise and oneness and flow state. And these things are all true. I'm not saying, no, you only do it for the dark reasons or the reasons that you're less comfortable talking about. I'm saying you do it for all of the reasons and that your reasons change by the day. And there have been times where I feel stuck and numb and I need more intensity, more risk so that I can feel myself, so I can feel my life force, so I can feel my enthusiasm, my mastery, my resilience. And I'm happy to talk to you about those times. I'm happy to talk to you about things that, you know, some days I lay in bed after flying and I kind of like shiver a little, I cringe. I'm like, ooh, that was dangerous, scary. You know, like the times we talked about free soloing a highline. I did those to prove myself was so much of that. But at the time, if you would have said, why are you doing it? You're like, how can I not?
Yeah. So is the practice to feel that shiver before you step onto the line or you step off the mountain, you know, and to be like, oh, actually, I'm going to make a different decision here because the shiver feeling or seeking the shiver takes me beyond a place that I have decided is my ideal for safety. How does it fold into your forward decisions?
Well, I think that risk tolerance and goals are different for every person.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And my risk tolerance now with my wife, my pregnant wife, is very different than when I was 10 years ago where I would not fucking listen.
Of course. Right.
I would not take any feedback.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So it's very different and it's different on the day. And one of the things I'm really trying to be careful of is not saying that there's like a right way, there's a right risk, there's a right level of danger here, and that no one should fly hot gliders, no one should push really hard, no one should speed fly, no one should proximity fly.
For each person for themselves, like you're going to have some, like I'll just speak for myself. So I have just a backstory is I started paragliding around 25 in Switzerland. I did about 80% of the P2 course out there when it was like 25 flights back then. And dude, like my third flight was from like 10,000 feet or something. And that was like 30 minutes. And the dude behind me didn't get to the second flight, he couldn't even take off. And it was in the snow and the mountain was closed and we weren't even supposed to be launching. And I did a 30-minute flight by myself with no radio and just luckily remember the landing spot was from like 6 months prior. And I mean, it was just, and when I think back to those times, I'm like, it wasn't that I had a high tolerance for risk as much as I had a low attention to risk. Like I just was like
awareness.
Low
like you
awareness.
didn't recognize
I was like,
it.
whatever. Like it's cool. This thing works. Let's just go. right? And
Yeah.
so my awareness is much higher now. And so, you know, and my risk tolerance has gone down for similar reasons of like a wife and kids and stuff. And so for me, there's like my kind of conscious decision about like, what's the amount of risk that I'm happy to take on. And then there's the moment when I'm on the mountain and you're feeling all the pressures, everybody else is taking off and the wind's good, but it might not be good for much longer. And it's like, you know, and then you're feeling all that pressure. And then it's like, I'm just going to fold my wing up and go home because I know that if I fly right now, I'm taking myself past where I decided like outside of the moment that I'm good. And so that's what I mean about like feeling that shiver, like in the moment to my own standards. Is that one of the things that you're helping guys to be able to like, to be kind of like, to make decisions from that center?
I hope so.
I hope so. Yeah. Well, I think your content is for sure, at least waking up to that awareness.
Yeah. So the way that I would put this, and maybe this resonates for you, is that sane paragliding is where the level of risk that you think you're taking is the level of risk that you're taking.
Okay. The level of risk you think you're taking is the level of risk you're taking.
That's what you want.
Oh, right. Right. That's what you want. Good.
That's what you want. That's sane paragliding.
Yes.
You're like, oh, I can like see, like I understand what I'm doing. I'm like, this is how much risk I want to take, right? Because the moments that, you know, the community is always aghast is where they look out and they say, oh my God, he's doing something. He doesn't understand the risk there. He's like taking more risk than he thinks he's taking. He's out over his skis on this, right?
Yeah.
So sane paragliding, taking the level of risk that we think we're taking. This is incredibly hard, principally because you don't exactly know what it's like to be paralyzed.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You don't know exactly what it's like to be dead paragliding.
Right.
And you're not going to like, there's no shadow work that's going to give you some visceral understanding of this so that we can then integrate all of these various unknowns of injury and being maimed and the impact on the community and all of these things. So our risk, and you know this in your work, brother, your impact and your influence is something that you are unable to wholly comprehend.
No. Yeah.
And the more and more you can comprehend your impact and your influence in the world, the better off you are and the more embodied, empowered, aligned, right? Okay, so the same thing in paragliding.
Yeah.
It's like the more you can be aware of the risks that you're taking,
right,
and have some kind of sane and sober assessment there and live in alignment with that is what you're looking for. That's what I'm looking for at this point. And it's not what I've always looked for. Historically, I would say that the majority of my paragliding has been indexed for performance and superiority. That I want to be better. I want to be like radical, noticed, like that I am that fucking guy. And it's been such a joy. I've enjoyed being that guy for so long. And I don't have any plans of not being that guy. I'm like very experienced in paragliding. I'm very skilled and I love it so much. I'm so passionate about flying. So this is not me trying to make clones of myself. This is really just trying to crack it open and provide a safe enough container that men who have never considered that maybe I do this for social reasons too. And if I did it for social reasons, what would those reasons be? And if I was doing it for social reasons, then what would that be getting me? Oh, wow, I do want to be like seen and appreciated and belong in a community. Okay, why is that? And so much of this just goes back to because you're a person, because you're a human, because you're incarnate. Right? Of course you have motivations to be seen and appreciated and belonging. Of course you have motivations to have your own self-respect, to feel your progression, to feel your life force, your enthusiasm, to be connected to other people, to be in touch with the universe in a way that I cannot, like I can do my best to describe the oneness of thermaling, cross-country, touching the clouds, flying hundreds of miles in a flight, moving with the wind. It's just like so next level or the level after that. Of course we have these motivations. Of course, we have these desires. It's just that our sport indexes so hard for skill and performance, and we are in general delusional about why we do it. And we are only comfortable talking about why we do it in a very narrow band of the whole spectrum of why we do it on any given day.
Yeah, as I think we are about everything in life, but the consequences of that in paragliding, it ups the stakes. And that's kind of one of the things that I've liked about it, is that like I'm at a time in my life where I'm working on becoming more conservative, just full stop. Like not necessarily politically, but just like financially, like with taking risks, like saving more, investing, not being so impulsive, just overall. And it's a context in which I get to practice that, in which the cost is bigger, And so I actually, like, part of the reason that I'm doing it is because I kind of like there being a higher cost to this growth edge. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, you're upping the stakes.
Upping the stakes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but it's interesting too, because you could think about this in the other way, that, okay, so your risk taking in paragliding stays exactly the same, and your wife gives birth to another child. Stakes just went up.
Does it go up? I mean, I know mathematically it does, but whether we have 1 kid, 2 kids, or 7 kids, I don't know that I feel any different about,
Maybe it's
one kid changed. Yeah, 1 kid changed.
And when
like
I
big
say
time.
the stakes, when I say the stakes,
first kid is the stakes big time. Yeah.
When I say the stakes, I mean the impact that your death has.
Yeah.
Death in paragliding has.
Of course, mathematically it goes up with every kid, but I just remember that, like, I used to fly to Phoenix twice a month to visit my mentor from LA. Never in my life did I have any. I flew on a plane, by the way, not paragliding.
Yeah,
but I never had any fear of flying at all. And then at some point I just started noticing every time the plane takes off, my hands were sweating and my heart rate was going up. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I don't have any like story about flying. And as I like really checked into it, it was like, oh wow, I'm afraid that if the plane crashes and I die, then my wife and son will be left with nothing. So we didn't have that much at the time. I mean, I was providing, but we didn't have savings. And so I went and got life insurance, and then suddenly I was okay. We flew. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the other way that I like to talk about this is the best thing that you can have to keep you safe in paragliding is dinner plans.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
There's got to be things that you're looking forward to in your life.
I mean, so much. Yeah.
And so when I say the stakes, I don't mean like mathematically that, oh, it's a sadder story that JP dies now because there's a 3rd kid that doesn't get a nose. Yada, yada.
Right.
No. It's more like the stakes are like, how much do you want to go on living?
Right. Yeah, a lot. Yeah.
How much are you living for? Because in the case of the fatality, where my mutual friend said, oh my God, do you think he did it on purpose? She was saying he had nothing to live for. So it's pretty easy to see, if you had a brother who was deeply depressed and suicidal, it's not the time to learn base jumping. Or like if he had a big affinity towards base jumping in that time, you would be like, holy shit, this is a huge existential red flag. No?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So, and so for the same reasons, it's like, we want paragliding to be really high stakes because of our self-worth. And if it's not high stakes, there's a big problem. And this is what we see sometimes in the community, is that people are playing around like they have 9 lives when some of us know that you only get 1 quarter for this game.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So helping people, on one side, I teach hard paragliding skills, decision-making, skill, like emergency skills. I do trainings.
You do that
guide
as well.
people.
Okay. Yeah.
And that I'm trying to lower the risk for them.
Right.
Okay. And on the other side of the risk reward equation, we're trying to help them get more reward from the risk that they're already taking, right? Enjoy their paragliding more, be more present with it, experience more gratitude, awe, wonder, progression, stimulation, all of these things without having to ramp up the risk.
Right.
Right? Because the risk reward conversation is basically lopsided. We only talk about risk as if it's the only part of the equation that matters.
Mm-hmm.
But when you see, oh, someone's actually really depressed and it leads them to take risks and do things in paragliding that seem self-destructive,
Mm-hmm.
then you start to realize, oh, well, if you actually want to get out of this, what you're trying to get out of it, we can dial up or down the risk, and we can dial up and down the reward.
Right.
Both of these things are levers that we can pull. So like I said, I'm not trying to tell anyone, oh, you need this much risk and this much reward. But I'm saying, look, like you want to enjoy paragliding, great. Let's focus on how you enjoy things. What is it that's stopping you from enjoying this?
Yeah, what are some
You know,
ways
you're in a
dial
great
up the
place, man. You're
reward?
doing sled rides at Poli Poli and you're like
Yeah.
really enjoying it,
I'm having fun, yeah.
you know,
How do
on
you
a
dial
student
up the
glider.
reward?
How do you?
Yeah, what do you do? What are some of the ways you help people to dial up the reward?
Well, I think that the first way that like where we would start is like, what is it that's stopping you from having the reward?
Mm-hmm.
So like one thing that I lead people through is just kind of taking account for everything they've ever felt in regards to paragliding.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've felt like the highest highs, and I've literally screamed and cried and pounded the earth, landing 100 miles out in the wilderness, like on a day that I was trying to set a record and just craving and trying so hard and blowing it and feeling so gutted and disappointed, frustrated, just. So I have felt everything through paragliding. Many people feel lots of frustration, disappointment. Oh, it's not going to work today. Oh, I have to walk down. And it's like becomes this big experience of frustration, disappointment, self-doubt, self-deprecation. The other term that I've coined is comparagliding, where you're constantly comparing your outcomes and experiences to other people's outcomes and experiences. So these are the things, you know, comparison is the thief of joy.
So just starts with becoming aware of what you're actually feeling and not noticing and not realizing.
Yeah, because honestly, I think that without these things, we'll probably find ourselves in a more consistent, easeful state of joy, acceptance, openness, gratitude, opportunity.
Right.
And so I would start with like, what is it that like, are you noticing that when you go paragliding, you are frustrated, anxious,
Yeah, I see it. I see it at takeoff.
quarreling, like,
Yeah.
especially like in your little community in Maui, like, you know, there have been many quarrels, bickering, land disputes, access problems, like, so we never really stop to think, oh, we say that we're trying to have fun and recreate here. So why is it that we're dealing with as much competition, rivalry, infighting, frustration, disappointment? We never stop to think, oh, wow, that's like, I'm getting the whole range of human emotion here.
Yeah, I mean, I see that in every community for everything, right? Like
I agree.
And the consequentiality of it in paragliding is really interesting because
Yeah, but like the ecstatic dance community and like the contact improv community is much more comfortable saying, oh, wow, there's something going on here between us here.
because it's
You know?
because
So
it's
it's
a
like-
deeper and more intimate context, like off the bat. So that brings me
Exactly.
to another interesting like curiosity about your business, because in my early years of doing coaching, I did adventure coaching things. I took people to different countries and on hikes and on rivers and stuff. And so it wasn't never paragliding, but like stuff that was getting you outside of the normal environment and in part of the coaching experience. And I know from that, and also from just coaching people, that like sometimes people are really attracted to the adventure, but then they're not really ready and up for the deeper conversation. And so you got to be, I mean, your videos are fantastic. Your content's great. So you got to be attracting the attention of people that are already interested in paragliding. But this idea of having a deeper conversation is like maybe a scarier edge than taking off with a paragliding wing. So what's your experience been of helping people to come to this 75%, as you said in your video, like the important 75% of what makes flying safe?
You know, it's interesting to talk about adventure as a physical concept, that we are going on a mission with an uncertain outcome that has risk.
Right.
Because the other thing that you're referencing is an even bigger adventure, I am going to commit my life to this woman. We are going to reproduce and have spawn. They are going to shit and piss everywhere and scream and cry. And we are going to, the outcome is so uncertain. The risk is just absolutely enormous. The biggest adventure of your life. So in general, I think that one of the biggest mistakes I've made in my coaching career is thinking that I need to convince people to take on this adventure. Those are not my clients. I can do nothing for you if you are not already frothing at the idea that you could be a better person, that you could have more, that you could do more.
Right.
And for so long, I was just withered in self-consciousness thinking, God, how do I convince these paragliding buddies that they need to dive deep into themselves?
Right.
But I think that what I've found as I've just let go of that, which is really like letting go of like having to prove my own worth and convince people, is that the people who really want to like go huge, they don't always do it in just one arena.
Right. Yeah.
You know, it's like the people who are like, you know, so there's just so many paraglide pilots who are men somewhere between your age and my age, who are business owners and who have a wife and have a child and who give a fuck.
Right.
And it's really not that crazy high of a bar. I used to think, oh, it's such a high bar of these guys who adventure and they also, you know, can spend $5,000. No, I just don't think it's that high of a bar now. I just like, there's way more people out there. And, you know, I think that to just pull it off of paragliding and just like, because in the paragliding men's group, I've had many paramotor pilots. I've had highliners. I've had skydivers. I've had people who just love to like backpack and hike and be outside. And I've also had people who really have no recreational adventure, you know, really like adventurous entrepreneurs. So it's really, you know, we're all kind of cut from the same cloth, and like how you fold it is less important.
Yeah. It's an entry point. Yeah. Why do you say we need wild fathers? That really caught my attention, but what does it mean for you? We need more wild fathers, I think I read you wrote.
Yeah, I think we do, man. I think we do. I think that when you get into the well-being of children and families, and you start to talk to these fathers about what it is that they're struggling with, they're struggling with some level of authenticity, that they are pulling punches in their lives as a way to support their children. And I think that fathers should really carefully consider their risk and how they support their children and their families. But you have to put your own mask on first before assisting others, right? Otherwise, you're just another body lying there in the exit row, you know? So to be a wild father is to like really fan the flames of your own life, to fan the flames of your own heart, to like know yourself like radically and unapologetically, and to really get the lens clean, clear, and polished, the lens that allows you to see yourself as you live, that allows you to be a faithful witness to yourself first and foremost, right? Because there are so many men who are wonderful people and have the right desire to show up, but they have not yet permitted themselves to live as big and bold and free as they can.
Yeah.
And so I'm really, you know, have been thinking about this a lot as I, you know, as we have started this little family here, that, you know, first of all, like this paragliding season has felt like the sanest, safest, most like sustainable season of
Yeah.
my life.
Yeah, I bet.
Like it's just like felt
Since
really
your wife's
good.
been pregnant, is it you're referencing? Is that the
Yeah, we got
context?
married in May,
Mm-hmm.
and I've had some huge flights, and it's just felt fun and chill and low pressure, and like,
Mm-hmm.
so that's been really wonderful. And I really like, I want to be a great father and be careful that I don't disappear,
Yeah.
but I also cannot neuter myself.
No.
I must live my life as an example of how I would want my child to live, which
Mm-hmm.
is both intrinsically, extrinsically motivated, and both conscientious
Mm-hmm.
but bold.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, right behind my monitor that I have your face on right now is a drawing by an artist who had on a recent episode. She's named Red K. Elders, and it's a pencil drawing of Dionysus, the Greek god of fertility, wine, chaos, creation, and he's there. He's an expression of the wild, the power of the wild, and that's
Yes.
been like really present for me in my work since the beginning. Actually, when I was early in my career giving a talk in London, I came off the stage and some woman walked up to me and she said, "You are the fool." And I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" I didn't know the archetype of the fool at the time, but like she's basically saying you are the embodiment of the archetypal fool, which is that which like tempts us off the path, right? Like just like and on the fool card is like this guy kind of walking with like a bag over his shoulder, and then there's a dog, and he's like right at the edge of the cliff, like balancing on one foot, like living at the edge. And yeah, and I think that my professional career the last 15 years has really been inviting people to move towards that which they might call the wild, to question not just their own internalized beliefs from their own personal traumas, but like one of the things I really focus on helping people liberate people from is the most common ideas about how we should live, the right way to do everything around money, around relationship, whatever it is. Like the prisons that hold us the most are the ones that are the most standard ones that we can't even see because we're living inside them.
What
And
are they? Just give me a couple examples here. The most standard prisons that people live in.
I mean, I'm not successful and lovable if I don't make a lot of money. That's one. And on the other side is if I make a lot of money, I'm an asshole and I take advantage of people. So people are stuck between these two fucking opposite poles, and they have shame in both sides, And so those are the two of the big ones that we work with. But shame of sexuality, I mean, that's like from the ground up for me as a Catholic, as an altar boy. It's like, and I didn't get molested, but I certainly was inculcated with the idea that if I masturbate, I'm going to hell. Sex before marriage, is going to hell. It's like, those ideas, when you learn them young, even if you have an intellectually more powerful idea like that comes up and sets you intellectually free, philosophically later in life, like it doesn't matter. That stuff is so deep in your nervous system that for most people, it's still running them, and it's having them make decisions in their life. So, that's why I saw that, because like I really picked up on it. But I also thought the father thing was interesting because I completely am aligned with you. Both need to be present for me to be the best father that I can be. And my tendency towards the wild has kind of reeled in a little bit since I've had kids, in a big way. Like I can just feel paragliding back in my 20s and paragliding now. One of the things that I don't know if I thought it before, but as you were speaking, I realized that whenever I go flying, I take my whole family with me. That's what it actually feels like. Like when I'm sitting there checking my lines, I'm not just checking them for me. I'm actually checking them for my kids and for my wife. My wife has, in the beginning, Paul, who's my friend and who who taught me paragliding here in Maui, said, "How is your wife with this?" And my first response was, I said, "She's disconcertingly unconcerned." Right? She never just said it, and he's like, "No, dude, I think she just trusts you." And that was actually really powerful for me because it had me become present with the depth of trust my wife was putting in me, which raised my attention on my own trustworthiness and my responsibility.
Yeah.
And so, that's a big part of the experience. Like who am I checking my lines for? I would say is kind of like is becoming present during this conversation. That's something that's occurring. That changes the, you know, I have watched guys take off at Echoes here, like after their third attempt and like getting angrier and angrier at themselves as they've attempted because it did, oh, what the fuck? And it's like, and then the second one, it's like, that didn't work either. And it's like, dude, like if I'm going to try 3 times, I'm going to be more chill and more relaxed each time, not more angry. Right. Because that's a big part of why I'm doing this. How honest can I be with myself? How present can I be with what's going on inside me? And how is every takeoff going to grow me spiritually, not just, oh, I have a better handle on the brakes now or whatever it is. So
Yeah.
I see everything as a spiritual pursuit though. So it makes no, wonder why I'm applying it to this, but.
Yeah. And you're also in a very specific phase of your life.
Exactly.
Too,
Yeah.
which I think really lends itself to your sanity and your safety in paragliding. And at this point in my life, I feel like a survivor, that I've like made it to this part, that
Dude,
you and I are now peers in some way in like trying to like really enjoy and be present for our paragliding careers.
I feel fucking lucky that I made it to this age, considering like, I mean, how many times I got pulled over for like triple digit speeding in a fucking like Ford, like Taurus or a Honda Civic that like could barely hold the road, like like just crazy shit when I was younger, and the risks I took paragliding in my 20s, like I'm surprised. And so then of course as a dad it makes me nervous thinking about, oh my god, if my kids take the same risks that I did, then it's like trying to roll 2 6s twice in a row. It's like, oh fuck,
And the thing that is coming up is like, the idea of a wild father is not that the father while the children are present is like so wild and reckless and risk taking.
Right.
Is that there's a path that has led him to being there that can hold wildness and adventure,
100%,
even conceptually in their heads.
Right.
And the idea that, oh, my son is going to be 17 and is going to earn enough money to modify the engine of his Civic is like, So it's like, okay, like a wild father doesn't necessarily like take huge risks like he used to, but he definitely knows how to relate to this part of himself so that the wildness in other people, the chaos of the universe and his wife is not so, it doesn't throw him off so much.
Yeah, contained. I would say that word speaks to my experience of it. It feels like my wildness is contained consciously. Of course there's going to be parts that are outside of my awareness too, but like I am making choices that like give myself the ability to express it within a container of my commitment. In fact, yesterday my son wanted to like put the candles out. We were celebrating Diwali, the Indian holiday here yesterday, and we had a bunch of candles lit, and at the end of the night he wanted to put them out using water with his fingers because he learned the secret trick where you can just squeeze. And I was like, they're too big of a flame. It's going to probably hurt, but I was like, yeah, go ahead. And it's like, and I just watched him try over and over again and like, it's too hot and freak out. And I was like, even if he burns his fingers a little bit, like that's enough. That's a contained amount of like, he's going to learn. Because Absolutely. At some point we all do. Either it's because, it was working fine and then we did it with a candle that was too big and it's like, ow. And so you have to learn that point. And so I feel like that, part of my decision to kind of like, or my propensity to live wild and then to also contain it is giving me the space to like make decisions with my kids, like with their education too. Like we are part of a new school right now. There's only 12 kids in it. It's called Acton Academy. It's a franchise, but it's a completely different model of schooling. There's no school on Fridays. I mean, it's just very, all the grades are through peer review. Like the kids grade each other basically. It's just so many different things. And so it's kind of wild. And yeah, it's a gift that I feel like I can give.
I think your candle story is really like hits the nail on the head. And I think that one thing that it shows that you recognize is that through taking your own risks physically, you gain perspective on what danger actually is.
Yeah.
Most people in this world are sterilized to the idea of what hazard, what risk, what danger really is.
So much. Yeah.
And
Especially if
so,
you live in the United States.
yeah,
Especially.
I
Every
agree.
cliff
And
has
so,
a railing here and not in the
yeah,
rest of the world, you know?
yeah, it's true. And at this point, like I've been doing action sports my entire life and I've survived long enough that now I have become the safety guy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
somehow I am now talking about safety of
Right.
paragliding, which I think is it's interesting, and this is something that I look at. I have pride for my wildness
Mm.
because I've come far enough that like there are, I'm the guy in the neighborhood that lifts the children up onto the roof because even though the parents gawk, I'm like, it's like 10 feet. And it's
Right.
like, it's a really hard, like
Exactly.
it's a
Yeah.
broken foot. It's like a hurt, but
Right.
like, it's also scary enough for them that they're not like, the child is not going to like jump off of this roof onto the grass.
Right.
So there's this, there's the thing in paragliding, sane paragliding is taking the level of risk that you think you're taking. Our sense of risk is something that we develop and iterate and iterate and iterate.
Mhm.
And a wild father, a wild parent of any kind is someone who has taken enough risk that they can advise risk taking.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a really great point, actually, because I can relate to that too. My wife didn't grow up out in the woods in the wilderness and climbing trees and stuff as much as I did. And so if my kids start to climb up a tree like 3 or 4 feet high, she's like petrified, where I'm like, they're okay. Because I know, like what you know, which is like if they fall, they're going to get hurt, but it's not going to be life threatening. It's not going to be something
They're
they
going
can't
to go
heal
like,
from.
clink, 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 clink.
Right. They might break something, but like that's a worthy level of risk right now for their exploration.
Yeah, but also when you put them in a car seat and you're like doing 75 on the highway, you're like, this is
yeah.
a very high energy situation. And I
Right.
understand the repercussions of 75 mile an hour right past immovable objects.
Yes. Or head
Right.
on.
Which so many parents don't understand. They're
Which-
so afraid of the
absolutely.
trees, but they're not scrutinous enough of the car seat.
And because you don't have a really embodied connection to your physicality, I think a lot of it is like, for me, I understand. I mean, it's just, yeah, because I know what it's like to get hurt falling 5 feet, 10 feet, going 5 miles an hour, 10 miles. I can project into like the faster versions. And so like my
Yes.
kid, I don't let him sit in the front seat, even though he's 9 years old, not until he's like 12 or 13, because for these kinds of reasons, whereas, yeah, I would let him climb on a roof or climb a tree, but I'm not going to let him sit in the front seat till he's much older. He was in the rear facing, thing until it was like 2 years old, even though it would scream and cry because he was facing backwards. I don't know that it was 2, but it was longer than usual. And so,
Okay,
but
so
for exactly these reasons.
You've brought up this thing that I also want to tie in here, which is for so long in paragliding, I recognize that the chance that I go in is there, and I don't want to do it in vain. I have always had this very visceral cringe level fear about dying showing off.
Right.
Dying
that
being
would
out
be
there and like
bad for your
braving the
brand. Yeah. Really
right,
bad.
dying out
Yeah.
there, braving the elements and like getting whacked out of the sky
Mhm.
is one thing, but like making a choice that was like a insecure part that kind of motivated something that
Yeah.
then that takes me is like I don't really want to die in vain. And this is the difference between letting your child climb up on the roof and like an injury that he would have learned something profound
Mhm.
versus some kind of accident that he had no hand in.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Of course.
So this is like, I take enormous risk paragliding, but I will not ride motorcycles on the street. And it is absolutely off limits for my children, for my wife to be on a motorcycle on public roads. Like
Mhm.
dirt bikes is one thing, but like
Mm.
you just open yourself to so many other people's dysfunction and
Mm.
mistakes in traffic
Mm.
that you're just like, okay, now like, yeah, now you're paralyzed. And the lesson you learned was like, people don't drive that well.
Yeah.
And you're like, great.
Yeah.
So to tie
Yeah.
this on where it belongs, this is like the recognizing risk where it belongs.
Mhm.
And there is risk that can teach you something about yourself, about your resilience, about your edge, about your capabilities, about your self-deception and your shadow motivations, all of this stuff. And then there's other accidents that can just teach you, oh man, that was like, I shouldn't have allowed my physical body to be in the line of risk of someone else's decisions.
This is a really good point too. Like we live on a very road with no shoulder, essentially. And I was a huge cyclist from my whole life until I moved to Maui, and I haven't really cycled here. Somebody was killed on my road like a year ago cycling. People get killed in Maui cycling because the roads are narrow and kids drive fast and they come around corners. And so for me, that feels like way more dangerous than paragliding. And I think your point that you make is that because I'm not just exposing myself to some uncertainty, I'm exposing myself to other human beings who are making, so you call it the dysfunctional decisions. And so I'm curious about motorcycling because I had like seen them as almost like a parallel, but you're distinguishing them. Would you say paragliding you think is safer than riding a motorcycle, especially in a populated area?
I think the core of this argument that I have is like, if you were injured and you laid there, what meaning do you make of the injury? Because it was like, this is the difference for me in my head. It's like, oh, there was cute girls on launch, so I tried to do something, even though the conditions didn't, warrant it, and I ended up hurting myself, and I feel dumb now. I feel stupid. Versus like, I was really fucking locked in. I was totally into it. It was like, the conditions were acceptable, and I had some kind of accident. It's a very different vibe for me. It's a very different vibe for me. And I've been hurt enough to know that there's a difference in how I feel about my decisions that lead me to some kind of incident, accident, whether it's being scared or hurt.
Yeah.
And so when we talk about safety, it's kind of relative. It's like relative to what? Like, are we talking about like statistical safety? Because this is kind of, like, as you know, people love to use justification narrative and be stuck in their heads to justify their life decisions. And statistical risk is one way that action sports athletes do this constantly without ever wondering, why is it that now I'm weighing out the statistical safety of this sport? Why am I having to do this?
Right, that's a great point. Yeah.
Why am I having to do this? So for me, the idea that my wife would be killed by someone else in traffic is like, that's a repulsive idea to me. But that she loved to paraglide and that she died paragliding, oh my God, it's like almost harder to like imagine, but something I think I could live with more. It's like,
I get the role that choice plays with the kids with the candle versus in the car seat, somebody dying because they did something by choice. It's not as painful.
Exactly. And so I think this is one of my deepest wishes, is to help people really like be deeply embodied in their choice to do something.
Yeah.
Right. This is like one of my main shticks coaching.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, I have to do this. I'm like, you don't have to do anything.
Yeah. That's, I can speak to that too in my work, because if somebody chooses to go for some really fucking huge goal from a place where it's like they're really far from that, and they invest a whole bunch of money in me, and it's like, and for me, it's like, the chance they're going to get there is slim, but I'm not going to put any attention on that because they're fucking excited about it. They're committed. And if it doesn't work out, like, it was fucking worth it. It was worth the effort. It was worth the fucking, the commitment and the time, and the energy and the money and all of it, because like, that's what we're fucking here to do, is to give it our fucking best shot. And so I think for me, being up for that myself has enabled me to be a champion for other people to be up for that for themselves, and to either join them in actually, one of the things I realized once when people were looking at me and thinking I had a high tolerance for risk in business was that I was like, I don't actually have a higher tolerance for risk. I have a lower value on the downside. It just doesn't hurt me as much to consider going broke and losing everything as it hurts you.
Yeah.
And it's kind of related here, it's like it doesn't hurt that. Yeah. Like, it's fucking worth it. It's worth it to lose everything to have a chance at creating everything you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, I think that in this conversation, your
Yeah.
statement is actually true, that you are less averse to the downside than I am. I found myself historically very averse to rejection and
You mean in business context?
life context broadly.
But not paragliding, maybe. Not physical things, maybe.
No, not physical. Yeah, I think more emotional, more
Okay.
rejection, oriented than
Right.
like
Yeah.
physical harm.
Yeah.
It's
Isn't
just,
that,
it's
isn't
just
that
a,
wild? It's wild, man. Heard a comedian say the other day, like, um, people would rather be in the casket than speak at a funeral. Most people.
yeah. And I think that this is true that men would rather have a broken back than a broken life.
Mm. Mm.
Like they would rather admit that, oh, I like did something, I screwed up. They would rather just like live in kind of like shitty relationships, connection, dysfunction than really like
Mm.
address it. They would rather like deal with like physical things.
It's the most bizarre thing, man. Like shame is murderous. I don't know. I've never really been suicidal, but I've had fleeting thoughts when I'm in my darkest moments of shame, enough to know that's like, oh, that's the spiral that people
Yeah.
go down
That's,
that take
oh,
them
there's
there.
the exit right there.
Right. That's the exit. Right. The
Yeah. That's
exit
the
thought.
exit. Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing that, the other thing that what you shared brought up was that what I heard you say was that, in coaching, you've had these experiences of people making these really far-fetched goals, these huge goals,
Mm-hmm.
and that you want to help them,
Go for it.
go for
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah.
sometimes, like lately, it's become very clear to me that sometimes making a huge goal is progress for people,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
for those
Just
who
making
have,
the goal. Right.
for people who have abstained from making those goals.
Mm-hmm.
And for other people, it could be the opposite of that. Like that
Mm-hmm.
making the giant goal is just more status quo, is more just like
Oh yeah. Sure.
continuing the
Sure.
pattern,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I see this in paragliding too. It's like there are people who need me to pull their reins and be like, stop it. Don't do that.
Right.
Don't do that. Slow down. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And there are other people who are like, hey,
Right.
you're like, you are qualified here. You can do this. Come on, like push a little bit here. Like you're on your
Yeah.
edge. That's good. Like this is the flight plan. Let's do like, so it's all just, we're
Yeah.
such,
I mean, that's absolutely true. I don't think I end up in conversation with that many people that have achievement as their like primary attention. If by the time I end up in conversation with somebody, it's because they're looking to disrupt that like kind of that attachment to like just the next bigger material outcome. Because freedom is so much my brand, and it's like, so for me, the goals are often like, how can I work half as much and just have free time and just
I love that.
or just like, just fuck off. Like we had a guy at a recent event here at our home in Maui, and he's a, serial entrepreneur, very successful, multiple companies that he runs. And, you know, insanely productive, kind of Tim Ferriss style, like thinking, like very left brain, like logical. And the shadow work we did brought out this deep, deep fear of being what he would consider to be a beach bum, right?
Mm.
And so the work that we did had him like really embody this and feel the pleasure and the joy in this fucking terrible idea. And then the 2 months following, he did fuck all compared to what he normally did. He just played as the beach bum, and more joy, more free time, more, connections, recently divorced, like new relationships. And his business like went up by 60%. And it like blew his mind. He couldn't even like, he's like, can't even connect the dots really. It's just magic. And so, when I speak to people having a bigger goal, usually it's for something that would demand such a shift and transformation in my way of being that then it gives me work to do with them that I have fun doing too, And also part of it too is like, it's not there's the pattern of bigger goals that are going to make you look more lovable in the eyes of everybody else. But then there's what would be a bigger goal for me if I were to live my truth, and it's going to be in a different direction, but I still believe in a bigness being part of what we're here to be up to, because like I believe that I am the expanding universe. It's not like just those are planets that do that and stars. No, like fuck me too. And so my expansion is like mimetic. The ideas that I have, the visions I have, we're Calton and I, my wife Calton and I are living in our dream life, but it's like our third dream that we like visioned and then created. And now we've been here 4 years and we're like thinking, man, it would be cool to be able to fly private. Like, why do I need that? No, we have decided 10 years ago, we will never be any happier. That's a commitment. We're not seeking happiness. We fly a flag in our front yard with a smiley face on it. This is where we live. This is happiness. This is it. And we just expand. Like we want to go for bigger and more. And so I do see myself as an instigator of greater possibility for people. I'm reflecting a little bit on what you said. I'll be curious for your thoughts on this, like earlier about like not trying to convince people to paraglide. And I think that's good. Paul said the same thing, you know, but I see like my role as coming into a person's life and instigating, igniting a greater possibility than they're seeing for themselves, right? Like I want to blow people's lives up in a way, and I want them to get excited about it, and I want them to invest in it in some way, either with me or with themselves, and get committed. And I'm okay if it doesn't work out, and I want them to be okay if it doesn't work out, and that's a fucking huge win in my reality, in my world. And so I'm living as if that's true and pressing it out into the world. But what do you hear in that? What do you vibe with or not?
No, I'm so glad that I poked this bear so that you can make this distinction, because I think my greatest gift to the world has been enthusiasm, stoke, energy, passion, like that I'm fired up. And so the idea that the other thing that struck me earlier that you've just brought back up is the disparity between what you believe is possible for someone and what they believe is possible for themselves.
Yeah.
And this is like, there's some magnetism that I've had to that space in relationship with people at times. And I have always wanted people in my life who have that for me, that they think that more is possible for me than I can either recognize, see, or really like fully harness or believe, you know? Because as you say, the nature of your expansion is ongoing.
Yeah.
The thing that I think that I loved most and would love to circle back on is this commitment that you said that you made with your wife, that you would not be happier.
Right. Never.
I love this. Tell me, what does this mean? What does this mean?
Well,
because I actually just had the realization the other day. I was like in the bathroom, and I was like, I just had some kind of little like verbal exchange with my wife, and I thought to myself, oh, I think I actually am just like looking at my relationship as if there's something wrong with it. And I was like, oh shit. I was like, oh, that'll fuck me. And I kind of let go of it. And so now that is what, like, that's the part of me that's like very curious about this. Yeah. I'm ready to make this commitment. Help me do it.
That will fuck you, because I know that because of how much it's fucked me. Like the meta narrative, I call it the meta relationship. The relationship I have to my relationship is the one that's most consequential on my relationship and my experience of life and where this relationship's going to end up. And so I'm sure just like you, just like every guy's had on-off relationship at some point in your life where you're like broke up, got back together. And so
hopefully only one, right?
Yeah. For me, well, twice. I had two pretty long ones, but so it took me 2 times to learn it. But I said to my wife, who was my girlfriend then, when we were living in London, we were out for a walk with our friends' dogs and got into an argument in the park. And as we were leaving the park, we were just like really heated. And she's like, I don't know if this is going to work out. And I stopped and I looked at her and I said, if you ever say that again, I'm leaving and I'm not coming back. And it was like, she just looked at me like, holy fuck. And for me, in hindsight, that's the day I got married. It wasn't until sometime later that I proposed, but it was like, it was a moment at which I decided from this point forward, we are both all in or I'm out, because like fucking halfway doesn't work. And not just her saying it or me saying it to her. It's like inside my head. I needed to not even entertain thoughts that this isn't going to work out, because that's the, like you called it earlier, that's the exit, right? That's like the exit off the highway that takes you onto the next road that just, now you're all the way off. And so to go back to your inquiry around happiness, I think at some point I was just, what if this is like, I'm happy and I've been happy for a while, but I just had the realization, like, what if I'm the happiest I'll ever be? And that's like, if I was depressed, that would have sucked, but like, I'm happy. And instead of trying to be happier, what if this is it? Then it's like, oh, fuck. Cool. Well, I finished that journey in life. Like I'm here. And so then it's just a decision, just kind of like, I'm not going to think about other women anymore. Like, I'm not going to think about leaving. Like, this is it. I've made my choice and this is it. In that same way, it's like, I'm never going to be happier. So I don't have to worry about being happier. I don't have to seek happiness. It's just the place that we come from. And then everything that we create is not in service of happiness, because if I don't have that declaration, then I might forget and I might start seeking something as an expression of expansion or desire and start confusing that with happiness. Mm-hmm. And then I'll get unhappy because I'm not there. And so the reason I fly the flag is because I can forget. And my favorite time of looking at it is when we're in an argument or I'm yelling at the kids and I look out the window, I see the flag. It's like, oh yeah, I am the happiest guy I know. And that doesn't mean I'm always fucking smiling, hey, yeah, I fucking, it's not like that. Because for me, like, my secret to happiness is to be happy with not being happy. If I can be happy with not being happy, then I'm attending to the meta relationship. Mm-hmm. My meta happiness is more important than just my emotional state. Mm-hmm. So that's a little bit of what I mean by that.
Yeah, it's a higher leverage relationship there.
Yeah.
It's like if you start at the top of the mountain and you are 1 degree off, you end up way far from the parking lot when you get to the bottom.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's how it is when you get into the argument with your wife. It's like, oh, you were 1 degree off with not being happy with your current situation. And then now you're here.
Yeah. Yeah. So it works for us. And it's something special to have another person who's in understanding and agreement with that as a principle, as a metaphor. And so, because we remind each other of it. And
this is so much like Eastern wisdom. That's like happiness is only the cessation of the search for happiness.
Basically. Yes. Yeah. I love the Tao. I'm a big student of the Tao as well. But I just remembered something the other day. What was it? Oh, there was just stress about financial stuff. Like, since we bought the farm and I've been shifting my business to a different model, and profit's been tighter. There's been some financial strain, and I was reading, was it The Power of Now? I think Eckhart Tolle, rereading it. That was like my first spiritual book for 20 years ago. And I just realized that wow, I've been forgetting that I'm the happiest guy I know. And I've been thinking oh, once we fix the financial situation, then I'll be happier again. And just remembering it. This is why the flag is useful, why having a declaration is useful. Just remembering it, just flip the script. And I was like, oh yeah, I know how to be that happiness is more important than anything else. Yes. And so just because I have this principle doesn't mean I'm always present with it, but it's a principle that really serves us and really kind of brings us home over and over and over again.
Yeah, I am that I have no complaints and I don't speak negatively of other people.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
Yeah.
So I guess you know of my mentor, Steve Hardison?
Mr. Hardison, the ultimate coach.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Very familiar. I have the book on my shelf. I reference it often in my coaching, and one of the processes that I take men through in the paragliding men's group is to make a declaration and to get drilled down on who you are.
That's awesome, man. So cool. Yeah. And that will really serve their flying. They're both the reward and turning up the reward and down the risk, wouldn't it?
Right.
Just being, because it's when it's present, having your attention on something. I have a word that I put on a bracelet every year. So this year my word is attention. It says attention here on this bracelet. And that came kind of for 2 reasons. One is I was at a stage in December last year where it's I really want to put more attention on creating more attention for me in my work, hiring an ad agency, doing more marketing, reaching more people. I've been kind of just a couple thousand people, small community, doing my work for years, but I just want to be more of a thought leader and bring more ideas to more people now. So that was part of it. But the other part was just the realization that highest point of leverage for everything that I get in my life, material results, comes from my attention. What I put my attention on determines what I habituate as my thought patterns, which leads to what thoughts I have tomorrow, which leads to my state of being and my propensity for it, and my behaviors and my actions and my results, and my life all comes from that. And so, yeah, that's kind of like, I hear a lot of that. I mean, you're nodding now, but saying yes, but I hear a lot of that in what you're actually helping guys to do, is to not just become aware, but become masters of their attention as well. Would you say so?
And mostly open it.
To be able to have attention on more at once.
Yeah, I mean, the idea of like being able to modulate between like laser beam focus and floodlight awareness is really helpful, because, you know, if you ask someone why they paraglide, why they take life, you know, fatal risks, then they will have some justification narrative that comes online and tells you some answer. But instead, if you said, hey, fill out this logbook every time you fly for the next 18 months and just inquire, write down all of the possible things that could have motivated you on this flight. Just be open to it. I love that. Just be open to it, because faithful witnesshood is such an incredibly high bar for our human life here on Earth. Like, your meta relationship of being like, this is just it, man. Like, you're just be with it, you know? So yeah,
dude,
opening your awareness.
I just get the chills thinking about the work you're doing, just realizing what you just said, like such a practical tool is so beautiful. Like, I'm just thinking like how many lives you are going to save through giving people the simple practice of, after every flight, ask yourself some question like that. Like, what is something about that flight that I don't want to admit? Like, just think about how many flights how many lives it's going to save. If you did that, I'm starting to do that tomorrow when I fly. I will do that. I will start, because of course I'm logging my flights, but to prompt, not like what were the conditions and how was my landing, but to prompt inward as a practice. I mean, how fucking beautiful is that, you know?
And not only the things that you're comfortable. I love how you framed it. What is it that I might be deluding myself about this?
Yeah. What do I not
because
want to
I look
admit
at guys
to
and I'm
myself
like,
about that flight?
I'm like, have you never blown up your relationship being totally delusional?
Right. Yeah.
Have you never like, what? I guess, have I just fucked this up so much more than everyone else?
Right.
I'm like, well, let me serve you through my horrendous mistakes here.
Dude, I think, here's what I think. And if you haven't done it already, I think you should create a logbook download for pilots that has prompts in it that fucking takes them so fucking deep that even if you never meet them, you will save lives. Because if for me, questions are or the power is that, right? Questions like, what about that flight do I not want to admit to myself? Questions like, what did I do during that flight so that I looked good? Like, think about it. Even if you had 3 of them, like fucking tightest questions, and every time you got in your
who
car,
observed me? Who witnessed me on that flight?
Yeah.
What did I want them to see? What did I want them to not see?
Yeah.
Who did I want to be on that flight?
We got to make a fucking AI that you can chat with, that is like your paragliding logbook chat. You just chat with it, and then it automatically populate a logbook for you, and it fucking asks you really difficult coaching questions. I have an AI for my coaching, and it's people love it, and people are in tears because it's not like affirming like ChatGPT. It's like fucking presses on you and challenges you. It doesn't give you the answers. It makes you come up with them. So we could totally do it. We could create this AI that fucking coaches you after every flight, and it asks you the fucking hard questions, and it grabs all that data and it puts it in, and it builds a psychological profile on you as a pilot, and it helps you fucking understand where you are at psychologically, emotionally, in relationship to your flying, and it will fucking save lives, dude.
I love this idea. This is actually something that came up yesterday. I launched the Integrated Pilot, that course that I was promoting in those videos.
Cool.
It wasn't
now we got to build it before we launch the podcast. You realize that, right?
I know. These things are helpful. And this is something that one of the men said, oh yeah, I've used ChatGPT to make a logbook for me. I was like, oh, interesting. And now it's just going to be trained to ask you some...
Take it way deeper now.
Way deeper, yeah.
Yeah,
because I've had I think that the majority of the profound things I've learned about life and myself have come from sports. Basically, when I was like late adolescence, in my late teens and 20s, going off the biggest jumps in the world, trying to do a double backflip, taking off backwards and landing backwards. Switch double backflip was like
Holy shit. Taking
the
off backwards.
scariest, hardest, gnarliest, coolest, most inspiring thing I could think of. And there was so many lessons. There were so many lessons about commitment and about effort and about trying and about surrender and about crashing and about resilience and visualization. There were so many tools. There were so many relationships. There were so many perspectives that came out of that. And then I learned to highline, and I was balancing on a 1-inch long rope, walking almost 1.5 miles across some chasm, floating in the air. And like, then it was like patience, presence. You cannot be there. Don't think about there. There is no past. There is no future. There's only right here. And then new lessons of surrender, new lessons of embodiment as in my body. New lessons about patience and focus and pace. And then I learned to paraglide. And all new lessons of my worth, my body, my risk, the unknown, the invisible, the magic, the uncertainty, the 12-dimensional chess in the sky with your life on the line. Just so many lessons, so many lessons. So I have a deep belief that you can use paragliding as a transformational tool for your life.
Absolutely.
And I also know that you can literally commit suicide with a paraglider. I have seen it done. So the spectrum is open for you, brother. Whether you want this to be an incredibly enriching, positive thing for you, your wife, your children, your family, your clients, your business, your spirit, the universe, that is absolutely possible. And if you have no intentionality, then it is also possible for you to lose the thread, to take the wrong exit, and for you to tailspin into the ground in a fiery explosion that is mostly meaningless.
I think that's beautiful that you said, and I think it's important to, I mean, I'm present with that, not in such poetic terms, but like I know that both those paths are in front of me, and that's what has me walking it respectfully. And I'm not in a hurry, and I'm not going to stop. Right, I'm just going to keep treading forward and learning, and playing because for me it's a context of my own personal coming to understand myself. Like that's, I think, as much as I love being in the air, I am loving the spiritual journey of it, the psychological, emotional journey of it as much, and maybe more. I don't know about more, but certainly love both. Every single time.
And that's so
I fly,
cool. That's so cool that you're already primed, experienced, talented, and refined in that way of using everything in your life as a tool and an opportunity as it is. Because most people don't come into paragliding in that way.
I know. Yeah.
And I also am not, I don't think I'm disillusioned as to the percentage of people who will use it as a tool for their transformation and their expansion.
Well, I don't think there's many that are going to, unless they're woken.
No, I don't think so either.
They're woken to the possibility, which is, a testament to what you're up to in the world and what you're doing. Because I think that, for all the people that are paragliding, coming across your stuff, for the ones that are able to open to it and have the chance to open it, you're certainly sparking that conversation for them within, I think, artfully. So
thank you.
Yeah, I admire what you're up to. And I would, if you haven't acknowledged it for yourself already, you've probably already saved hundreds of lives, if not thousands.
I wonder.
I don't know what the right number is. Let's not get statistical, but definitely save lives.
Thank you.
You can't just if people. I mean, thousands of people are watching your videos. You can't watch those videos without moving you a little bit in the direction of paying more attention to the internal experience. I know I've mentioned to you that you were coming to Maui, and the guys know who you are and stuff, so that you're known in the paragliding world, and people say, oh, he makes great videos. So people are watching them and people are paying attention, and then that's affecting their thinking process, you know? So I just, yeah, hope that you can really see that it's making a difference.
Thank you. It's helpful. And I think that my growth edge going forward is just more and more a further and further reduction of the friction that is in me that stands between my insight and my inquiry and my expression of these things. Because I think that I think of myself as underpotentiated in this arena and only learning and building the muscle of really like turning my inspiration and my insight into expression and content more and more as time goes on.
Yeah, cool. Well, it's, you know, you're creating mastery in a new craft, so it takes, every time we switch context or industries, it's like there's a ramp up time to get to that level of mastery. But like you said earlier, when people go big in one area, they tend to go big in other areas. So it's just,
That's right.
you know, if I look back, I was just writing an article this morning. It's like sometimes when I talk about my, you know, making it as a coach, I'm a little bit like still semi embarrassed about like how long it took me compared to like how fast my clients succeed. You know, like I have this scroll on the wall you can see right there, which is called 100 Secret Dreams. When I first started my business, I was like, I'm going to help 100 people for 2 hours to discover their secret dream, and, you know, and then learn to play this high fee coaching game offer. And some of these people are going to say yes, right? It took me fucking 70 people. It was like 140 hours of free coaching with 70 different people before I had a single yes. Like none of my clients that do that take that long, but like, it is what it is. You know, I don't even care that much that it takes me longer. Actually, I had an acknowledgement from a friend the other day. She's like, yeah, it might take you longer to get things, but you go all the way fucking in. And when you do it, it's so solid and it's so coherent because you've had to make everything make sense for yourself. You weren't willing to just get the outcome, which is so true. I always say the means matters more to me. My means justify my ends. And so in that way, it takes a bit longer, but I feel like it leaves me with something that's, that I can stand on.
A bit more baked. Yeah.
Yeah, it's more baked.
I love that. I think I hope that, and I do think I'm moving in that direction.
I feel that where you're coming from, man. Like when you speak, it comes from experience. It comes from having thought through it yourself. You know, you're not just parroting a bunch of phrases you've heard in a personal development event. You brought everything that you're speaking comes through your life. It comes through your experience, and it's something that is true for you personally. And that's where I teach my clients to coach from your experience. I was like, the only reason to work with me is to evolve the conversation you have with yourself, because the best coaching is an expression of the way you talk to yourself. You talk with others the way you would talk to you. That's going to be the most grounded. You know, to try to like figure out something to do with them that you wouldn't do with yourself. Just be you with yourself, with others. So that's the kind of, I think that's the way that makes you the most grounded.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because the door that you're pushing on there is the way that you communicate. And I would make the claim that the way you communicate is the most conditioned thing about you. Like how you think in language and speak in language is like just from day one. So to make some kind of change there is just such high leverage. You know, this is like we were talking about the meta relationship, how that's such a high leverage thing because it's just so far up there or down there, however you want to conceive. And the way that I speak about myself, speak to myself, is such a high leverage thing, and making any kind of change on that can be both difficult and such high yield.
Yeah, totally. And the word speaking in particular, I very much agree with, and I like that you're using that word instead of just saying thinking, because I believe that the thoughts that we have are an echo of the words we speak with our mouth and not the other way around. And I base this on my own experience and really paying attention to it, but also on just reading about the history of language and how it came to be. And my understanding of it is that first we danced, and then we sang using sounds from our mouth.
Uh-huh.
And then we began to use those sounds from our mouth to represent things that were in the environment or happenings. And then words came. As we started to speak to represent things in the environment, that sound would go into our ears and echo into our mind, and that's where the internal dialogue was born. So it's like it first came out here, and then it became so that's like the history, and then like of course written language then comes later, and it can, be held out in the physical world as a symbol, but like of course speaking was first, and in my own experience, if I say something with my mouth, I start to think it. One of the stories I like to tell is about my son when he was 2 was biting. He's my older son, he's 9 now. He was biting in preschool, and it was like an issue, and we were like trying everything to get him to stop, from like, telling him not to and yell at him. We got him this like rubber Lego he wore as a necklace, and we could like bite that and and it was the sweetest thing, because when we would ask him why he was biting, he says, because I love them, like biting his friends. Like it's just like he wanted to eat them, which is, there's something primal about that. When you have a kid, you're going to want to eat them too. They're so cute. But so he was doing that, and like nothing worked. I even bit him back once, like, because somebody told me then he'll stop biting, and he just bit me harder. I was like, okay, it's not happening. And then through reading the Tao, which we mentioned earlier, like I forget what chapter it was, but it was this about idea of meeting high intensity with low intensity. And so he bit me, and then I just laid down on the ground, and I said, gentle, gentle, easy, easy. And then he just relaxed and he stopped biting. Uh-huh. And it was my energy coming down. And so that became my pattern of meeting his biting. Okay. So now this is where this comes back to what we were saying before. And one day I was walking into my kitchen by myself, and I heard the phrase gentle, gentle, easy, easy in my mind. And I was tracked back. I was like, well, why am I saying that? What's going on here? Uh-huh. And I noticed that I was going to the fridge to get a cookie or something, and I was on a fast, and it was going to break my fast early. And I judged myself for it. It was all so fast. But then my mind responded, gentle, gentle, easy, easy, to me. So the thinking, which was a beautiful and healthy response to the internal judgment, was an echo of something that I had been saying out loud. Mm-hmm. And so I believe that the power of speaking is so profound, because it creates our world. Our using our mouth to creates our world. It both, when it goes out into your ears, it also goes into mine. Yeah. And so one of the things that I like to teach in my work is that I have these 2 programs I have together. I call it being a client magnet, but I call it creating clients and creating being. So it's like one path's about all the self-creation declarations you're talking to yourself about yourself to help you create a state of being as you show up in a particular way to create results. And the other path is creating clients. And it's like how to talk to people in the world with your mouth so that they will create a world for them that will have them sign up and become a client. Right. And so you think you're going on these 2 separate paths, and by the end, they kind of melt into one path. And like one of my final modules at the end is called creating self and other. And it's the realization that like everything that comes out of my mouth to you is also to me. And so everything that I do with my mouth is an act of creation. And so I'm going to be really conscious about speaking in such a way that makes you feel the best and makes me feel the best, because I can't say something to you without getting it myself, and vice versa. So yeah, I could go on for hours, but I'm a big fan.
Yeah,
of
I like this. And the idea, to reflect the idea back to you, it's that the things that you say with your mouth land in your mind, and then your thoughts become echoes of what you said with your mouth.
Yes.
And then I think it's also not a stretch to say that once it comes out, then you start this recursive feedback loop between your thoughts and your speech.
Right. Then I speak it more because I heard it in my head.
Uh-huh. And so then you get into this, like this, what can be the spiral that takes you to suicidality, or the beautiful thing that leads you towards your dreams, is this recursive relationship between your thoughts and your speech, and your thoughts and your speech, and your thoughts and your speech.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the same exact process that takes you down into a suicidal spiral that can take you up as well. The one philosophical obstacle of taking one up, and it's weird that it doesn't really exist on the way down, is if you start to speak something greater than you have evidence for in circumstance, you can get a bit blocked. Well, I can't say that out loud. I can't certainly say it to other people because it's not true. Whereas I never really thought about it this way before, but I don't feel like people have that same hesitancy to speak something that isn't true when they're going into a dark place. It's kind of like they just become so consumed with that darkness. They'll say things that are way exaggeration on how bad and horrible it is. Anyway, I'm not exactly sure on that, but
that's actually really interesting. The way that I've conceived of this as I've led people through making documents is that when they try to make a powerful claim about their goodness, they are likely to feel some kind of resistance, some kind of cringe, some kind of like limit. That is like literally how you come into contact with your limiting beliefs.
Yeah, of course, yes.
Which is such a beautiful thing. You're like, bing, you're like, oh, there it is. You're like, oh, it becomes a little realer. We get to feel the shape of it. We get to understand the location of it. What is it related to? Where is it girdered? But this is a very interesting concept that we have fewer or no limiting beliefs
around.
There's no glass floor. There's only a glass ceiling. There is no glass floor. You're just floating above hell. It might be really far down there. You bang your head on your glass ceiling, but there's no real glass floor that will keep you, that will say, hey, that's not true about you.
Yeah.
That's not true.
Yeah.
Do you think this really is true?
I don't know. I've never thought about it before. It just kind of came to me as we were talking about it. I mean, I'm present with what I know to be true for me is the glass ceiling, both because I'd be embarrassed. And what if I say it and then it doesn't work out? But then there's also the philosophical one. Oh, I'm lying. Like I know all those ceilings on speaking something greater than circumstance. I had never really considered the downward one before, having no glass floor, but I was just referencing it because of your point about like the downwards. It's the same system, the downward spiral and the upward spiral.
Yeah. So an interesting way to conceive of this as a father would be to wonder if it is possible for you to make your son aware of his limiting beliefs. Surely you would think, yes, it is possible. Then would it be possible to instill in him a glass floor?
Let's think about that. Do I have a glass floor anywhere? What does a glass floor feel like?
I think I do, brother.
Yeah, me too.
I think I do, because honestly, there are in the last couple of months, there has been like a week where I was like, had so much resistance to speaking edgy things on my YouTube channel that I just procrastinated through and through and through. And I did basically nothing for an entire week. Okay. And even then, when I feel like these, like it is such a cringe in my stomach, this sensation, shoulders, like this thing is like dark and heavy. I still think, okay.
Yeah, I think that
there's like this. Is the glass floor dignity?
Maybe it's a limiting belief, but limiting beliefs are not all bad. Like every belief limits, as my friend James says, and that's the function of beliefs, is to limit. And so I have a belief that being sad about being sad is not useful. And so no matter how sad I get, I'm not going to get sad about getting sad or being sad, because that's like, I would call that depression, right? Then you start to create a meta relationship. So I guess some of the beliefs that I have, you could call them empowering beliefs if they're useful, but I certainly do have beliefs that would create a floor for me too.
I like this.
So yeah, we're shifting the angle on this. I think we're in agreement that there is.
And I think you just alluded to the shift, that you can shift from truth to utility.
Oh yeah.
And I think that utility trumps truth.
Absolutely.
In the concept of self-belief, just 10 out of 10 times.
It took me a while to really get that. Like one of the challenging things I experienced in my work with Steve Hardison, my mentor, whose book you mentioned, The Ultimate Coach, was how much he shows up that way and how much his speaking was in service of creation and not in service of supposed truth. And I was like, I remember asking him, like really pressing him for like the philosophical underpinnings of this like prioritization one day, like, and to the point where he just stood up and he said, I'm not saying it. because it's true. I'm saying it because I'm creating it. And I was like, fuck. But then I finally heard it and I was like, holy shit, I have been prioritizing supposed truth over creation.
Yeah.
And, from that point on, I was really like, that's not my highest priority anymore.
Yeah.
And then only in hindsight could I realize it was only speaking of what I thought was the truth, not that it even really was true. So it's kind of silly all along anyway.
And it is a fucking quagmire that our whole world wants to chain us to, that our utterances must be objectively, scientifically provable, expose, journalism true.
Mm-hmm.
And so when someone's like, I'm the best parent, they're like, no, you're not.
Right.
And you're like, holy shit, we are
a
bit sick on this whole thing, aren't we?
Yeah. So like if you went on the line, you were like, I'm the best paraglider there is.
I used to introduce myself on my freaking YouTube channel as a professional pilot, and my friends would just never let me hear the end of it. What is even a professional paraglide pilot?
Right. So part of what gives me the freedom, the love, and the power to speak things like that is because I believe that I'm actually championing the gift of the possibility that you can create yourself and then that can serve you. Because on some level, you're getting pushback from that. But what you're also doing is you're being the Roger Bannister of paragliders in that sense. What I mean by that, Roger Bannister, first guy to break the 4-minute mile. So by you saying I'm a professional paragliding pilot, you create in the universe a possibility called professional paragliding pilots that other people then can aspire to and aim for, which draws
and even
them
if they
into a level.
Even if they don't aspire to it, now it's possible for them just effervescently, just spontaneously.
Yes. It's just
right. Because that's the thing with the 4-minute mile. Like he breaks it, and then on the other side of the world, the next day somebody breaks it, and it's like
exactly.
They didn't know
that's
about
the
it.
point. But more people will become professional paragliding pilots when somebody in the world says that I am one.
Mm-hmm.
And when somebody says I'm the safest paragliding pilot on earth, then suddenly that becomes a thing that so there'll be people that push against it, but then there'll be people that be like, oh, that's cool. What if I could be that person? And then what does that create in the world?
Mm-hmm.
And so this is why I'm a fan of helping people to cultivate a way of seeing themselves as the greatest. I call it as champion because it's got a dual meaning, champion being the best and also champion being for in service of others, because they create that possibility in the world that they give other people the chance to rise into. Part of this idea is inspired by the book, If You Meet the Buddha on the Road, Kill Him, by a psychiatrist named Sheldon Kopp. I think it was like the 70s and 80s in New York. And it's all about how in a psychotherapeutic relationship, it serves a function for the patient to see the therapist as the guru with all the wisdom, because it focuses their attention and it gives them the trust that the therapist needs to help them to find their genius and wisdom within, and to find out, and then ultimately to kill the guru. And so like there will be people that push against that, but then if they're pushing against that, on the other side is the belief that it's real, right? And so at the same time, there's going to be something that calls them to that greater possibility, whether it's in paragliding or whether it's in who would I need to be free to say that I'm great at something. Mm-hmm. Right. And so so part of the way that I work too is to provide a confrontation, and I will happily be that thing that confronts you. Yes. And I will happily have you maybe not even really confront it today, but me be one of the people on the journey that you spat at, because you have to spit at 37 of them before you can realize that, oh, it's me that's doing maybe me got the issue. Mm-hmm. So I'm happy to be that kind of punching bag. And that's changed the game for me a lot in my self-expression too, especially now doing with paid ads. And every day I wake up in the morning and I delete comments from my paid ads of just like the most horrendous, horrible shit. But I do it with like a lightness in my heart and a smile and a little bit of heartbreak for the innocence in them and the projecting their own pain onto me. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned this idea of champion as this dual meaning, that you are champion yourself and champion as in service to other.
Yes.
And this brings us all the way back to the very beginning, the just reality of a dual motivation, intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, that both you are doing it to be great yourself, and you do it in relationship to one another. You are not hyper individuals through and through. that our motivations are both for ourselves, that we love it, and also to be seen, appreciated, loved, belong, to inspire, to be inspired, to aspire, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think the healthy structure of a human being is like when you realize that you are a multiplicity of parts that are
Of course.
in, you could even say competition. Like, I think the AI really started to work when they realized that having like competing intentions actually are what generate that emergence into consciousness, or
Interesting.
supposed consciousness, because like people often will be like, oh, I'm in conflict. I've got this part of me wants to do that, and this part of me wants to do that. It's like, yeah, you are the arc of tension between those poles, and I think just that awareness that like, oh, I'm not supposed to be one or the other. I'm supposed to be the experience of the middle. That is a really peaceful idea, or it creates a lot of freedom.
Yeah, space.
The conflict becomes a dance in a
Yeah,
sense.
I want to be safe paragliding. I also want to push. I want to be great. I want to be acknowledged, recognized, respected. Right.
And those aren't alternatives.
Right? They're not
both
alternatives.
No.
Yeah. I never want to miss a paragliding day. I also want to have a thriving business and relationship and spend time with my wife.
Yes. And one of the ways that I try to articulate like how those two things can live in the same space. I actually wrote an article. I don't know if you saw what I did, about landing a paragliding wing and creating clients. I called it cycling attention. Did you read that? Happen to read that? No. I'll tell you just briefly because it kind of wraps back into this. When Paul was teaching me to land, he's like, eyes in front, eyes on the target, eyes in front, eyes on the target. So it was a little bit of both, right? Like I had to switch from, okay, I got to watch where I'm going. Then I also got to like have my eyes on my target. So it's a cycling attention back and forth. And in the beginning, it was like a little overwhelming. Which one is it? Oh, I'd look there too long and I forget to look in front. But it's like, once I got that, it's, you need to do both. You need to cycle back and forth, and it starts to happen more quickly, naturally. And then eventually you kind of forget like that they're opposites, or that they're different choices, and they just kind of vibrate as a single state of being. And so in client creation, I would say it's like I'm focusing on just serving this person and making a difference in their life. And I'm focusing on them making a financial commitment and becoming my client. It's like focus on serving them, focus on them making a financial commitment to become a client. It's like, eyes in front, eyes on the target. And as you cycle back and forth and you practice that, eventually those two things that seem like, oh, which one is it? Are you trying to serve people, or are you trying to get paid? Which one is it? Is it for yourself or for others? And if you give yourself the freedom to be like, they're both okay, and how I'm going to get used to that is to cycle my attention back and forth, they start to vibrate as a single state of being, and you're able to live in them as one state of being. And that's, for me, that's the transcendent. The both and comes from intentionally moving your attention back and forth with equanimity to those poles.
Let me just wear this robe briefly and put it on to this shtick that I've been talking about lately, which is the motivations for paragliding, which is that if we can help you feel free enough to oscillate between looking in front and looking at your target, in putting your attention on your comfortable motivations of aspiration, inspiration, recreation, fun, and constantly looking back towards how I'm extrinsically motivated, how I want to be connected, recognized, approved of, belong, then I can realize that they are not so different, disparate, or even one is better than the other.
Yeah.
And soon can find myself in a equanimous state where all of my motivations and all of the various parts of me, all of the contradicting desires actually just resonate as one, and we find ourselves in a place of wholeness rather than being fractured or being delusional about the whole nature of our motivations. And yesterday, as I was like kind of writing, lots of inspiration after this session I had, what came out was wholeness as safety. The idea of wholeness as safety, because it's like all of these parts, they're all fucking on board. Your nervous system is part of your paraglider. This is all part of the aircraft. All these contradicting parts are all part of this aircraft. Like, can you fly with it? And denying it doesn't make it go away. So this is a very,
yeah, man. Wholeness through safety through wholeness, I would say as well. I would say safety is wholeness. Really, just like lots of different ways to say it, but it's a
and
beautiful...
spiritually, it's true too. The words just apply perfectly spiritually.
Course.
It's like,
yeah, paragliding safety, spiritual safety. Yeah,
exactly. And, you know, I remember, you know, I think it was 5.5 years ago now that I heard the Carl Jung quote that changed my life, that I say every other day, which is that I would rather be whole than be good.
Fuck yeah.
And I realized, oh my God, I've been trying to be good for my whole fucking life. Fuck.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's a good one. I don't think I've heard that one before. I'd rather be whole than good, but I fucking love that.
No kidding, right?
Being good had its grip on me for most of my life, definitely into my 40s and 46 now. And like being a good boy, good John, you know, it was huge. And I feel like the shadow work that I've been doing has liberated me from that so much. You know, even the practice of forgiveness I was doing within the context of believing in good and bad. And so I was forgiving myself of judging myself for things that were bad and then experiencing freedom from that, and then cultivating a belief in myself as good. But what I didn't realize is that I was entrenching the paradigm that good is good and bad is bad, for lack of better terms, right?
Yeah, you're undermining your dignity.
Right. And it was only through really coming into contact with me as a bad person and finding, through the shadow process I've done, finding the fucking pleasure and joy in it, that I really was like, oh fuck, this isn't about being free from stuff. It's about being free with everything. And that's really where I spend more time now and aim to live it with everything, just to be free with it and to not be trying to run away from bad towards good. It's a fake good anyway when you do that. It's fleeting. Yeah. Man, this has been fucking as great as I thought it would be, and better, dude. I really appreciate it. Your philosophical depth, your intelligence and articulation, your passion for flying is beautiful. So I look forward to this being the beginning of a friendship, and I look forward to hopefully flying with you when you're here in Maui.
Likewise, brother. Can't wait. Can't wait. I'm so stoked that I'm coming to Maui so quickly on the heels of this.
Yeah, man. So tell people where they can find your work. We'll put links too, but share.
Yeah, I mean, luckily, my name is unique, and Ari in the Air, I have captured that handle on every platform. That's my email, Ari in the Air at Gmail. YouTube and Instagram is where I've been focusing my efforts of creating content, so you can follow me there.
Cool, yeah. For anybody listening, it's ARI in the air, Ari in there.
Yeah, man.
Awesome, brother. Well,
Thanks so much.
See you soon.
Okay, wonderful talking to you.